As the Kidman family crumbled, their eldest daughter had secretly chosen a side. But this decision tore the entire family apart. When sources revealed which parent she remained loyal to, the truth that emerged was something no one expected. Make sure you watch this video until the end because the information revealed in the final minutes will completely shock you. Hello friends, welcome to our channel. Today I'm going to tell you about one of Hollywood's most surprising family dramas. The events during Nicole Kidman and Keith Urban's marriage collapse were so complex that no one could understand what was really happening. But now, sources have finally spoken out. And the story that emerged has deeply shaken everyone. At the center of this story is the family's eldest daughter, Sunday Rose Kidman-Urban, a 16-year-old girl who silently made a decision amid the conflict between her mother and father. And this decision brought about the family's downfall. Let me first tell you how this story began. When Nicole Kidman and Keith Urban married in 2006, everyone saw them as Hollywood's most perfect couple. The famous actress and country music star had two daughters together. Sunday Rose was born in 2008, and Faith Margaret in 2010. For years, their public image was flawless. Hand in hand on red carpets, Nicole supporting Keith at his concerts, Keith being by Nicole's side at her movie premieres. Everything looked beautiful. But behind the scenes, a different story was unfolding. The first signs began to emerge in 2019. Keith Urban's tours grew longer, and Nicole started spending more time on movie sets. But the real problem was Sunday Rose's reaction to this situation. According to sources, Sunday Rose began to notice the growing distance between her mother, Nicole, and her father Keith, and this young girl started worrying about her family. But no one realized how closely she was paying attention to these observations. In 2020, while the pandemic affected the entire world, the Kidman-Urban family also began spending more time at home during this period. And that's when the real problem surfaced. Sunday Rose observed that her mother and father talked less and less, avoiding interaction with each other even in the same room. According to sources, Sunday Rose began quietly taking notes on this situation. Her father Keith spending late nights in the studio, her mother Nicole constantly making phone calls. This young girl saw her family falling apart and didn't tell anyone. The first major crisis occurred at the end of 2021. Keith Urban needed to return early from a concert tour because Nicole had an urgent film project, and there was no one to take care of the children. But Keith didn't want to give up the tour. A big argument ensued, and Sunday Rose heard this argument. According to information from sources, that night Sunday Rose realized her family was over. But she didn't yet reveal which side she was on. She continued to watch and listen silently. At the beginning of 2022, the situation worsened. Nicole Kidman had to move to Australia for a new film project. Keith Urban preferred to stay in Nashville. And the children were caught in this dilemma. It was at this point that Sunday Rose made her historic decision. But she didn't explain this decision to anyone. She just started to show it through her actions. The first sign was Sunday Rose gradually reducing the time she spent with her father Keith. She stopped going to concerts, refused to accompany him in the studio. But she wasn't doing this openly. She always found other excuses. At the same time, she began spending more time with her mother Nicole. She visited film sets, accompanied Nicole to interviews. And most importantly, she began showing support for the decisions Nicole made. Keith Urban noticed this change but initially interpreted it as normal adolescent behavior. He thought Sunday Rose's distancing from him was temporary. But he was wrong. In mid-2022, family lawyers began to get involved. Divorce proceedings came up. And that's when Sunday Rose's side-taking became apparent. According to sources, at a family meeting, Sunday Rose sat next to her mother Nicole and said these words to her father: "Dad, Mom was always there for me. You were always on tour." These words deeply shook Keith Urban, because he had never realized his daughter thought this way. And from that moment on, everything changed. Sunday Rose's side-taking also affected the divorce process. Because Nicole Kidman, receiving her daughter's support, felt stronger, Keith Urban began to think he had lost both his wife and his daughter. But the most surprising part of the story hasn't come yet. Because behind Sunday Rose's decision lay a completely different truth. And when this truth emerged, both Nicole and Keith were shocked. At the beginning of 2023, a striking detail appeared in the family therapist's report. Sunday Rose was trying to prevent her parents' divorce. But she was doing this through a very different method. According to her statement to the therapist, Sunday Rose was trying to win back her father by siding with her mother Nicole. Her plan was this. Keith's fear of losing his daughter would force him to return to the family, but this plan had the opposite result. Keith-Urban, thinking his daughter was against him, distanced himself even more, and the divorce process accelerated. When Sunday Rose's complex plan was revealed, a great shock was experienced within the family. Nicole Kidman was very upset when she learned that her daughter had used her as part of this game. Keith-Urban realized that his daughter actually loved him but had chosen the wrong method. But it was too late. The events that occurred had completely changed the family dynamics. And Sunday Rose's loyalty game had destroyed her family instead of saving it. According to sources, Nicole Kidman felt tremendous guilt when she learned about this situation. Because while she thought her daughter was supporting her, she had actually been part of her innocent plan. Keith-Urban was trying to overcome the anger he felt toward his daughter. Learning that Sunday Rose hadn't abandoned him relieved him but also put him in more complex emotions. At the end of 2023, they began continuing family therapy. Sunday Rose admitted that what she had done was wrong and apologized to both her mother and father. But the damage done was too great. As of today, Nicole Kidman and Keith-Urban live in separate homes. Official divorce hasn't happened yet, but the process continues. Sunday Rose spends time with both her mother and father, but she knows her family can never come together again like before. The most painful part of this story is that Sunday Rose destroyed her family while trying to save it. A 16-year-old girl trying to carry such a burden was a traumatic experience for both herself and her family. So, what lessons can we draw from this story? First, the impact of family problems on children is enormous. Young individuals like Sunday Rose can feel responsible for solving their parents' problems. Second, we can see how lack of communication can lead to major problems. If Nicole and Keith could have spoken openly from the beginning, Sunday Rose wouldn't have felt the need to take on such a role. And finally, we see that families that appear perfect in the media's eyes can also experience major problems. While Nicole Kidman and Keith-Urban appeared to be a happy couple for years, a very different story was happening behind the scenes. Sunday Rose's story also shows how complex the concept of loyalty can be. When a child tries to be loyal to both mother and father, sometimes wrong decisions can be made. Today, Sunday Rose is trying to learn from what she experienced. She continues therapy and is developing herself to avoid making similar mistakes in the future. But the traces of the trauma she experienced seem likely to last for a long time. Nicole Kidman and Keith-Urban blame themselves for what their daughter experienced. Both are trying to be more understanding towards Sunday Rose and trying to make her feel that she's not alone in this difficult process. At the end of this story, the answer to the question of which parent Sunday Rose remained loyal to is actually very clear. She was loyal to both. But she chose the wrong way to show this loyalty. And perhaps the biggest lesson of this story is, children are not responsible for their parents' problems. Young individuals like Sunday Rose shouldn't sacrifice themselves to save their families. What do you think Sunday Rose did was right? You can share your thoughts in the comments. And if you want to hear more stories like this, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. But the story's end hasn't come yet. Because at the beginning of 2024, Sunday Rose made an even more surprising decision. And this decision would be the last move to try to bring the entire family back together. According to information from sources, Sunday Rose wrote separate letters to her mother and father. In these letters, she told the entire process they had experienced from her own perspective. And she warned both parents. In the letter she wrote to Nicole Kidman, she said, "Mom, Dad loves you so much, but you don't see how much he's struggling. Even if you don't want him to give up music, he's ready to give it up for you." In the letter she wrote to Keith-Urban, she said, "Dad, Mom misses you so much, but you always run away. When you're not home, she gets very sad, but she doesn't want to show it to you." Nicole and Keith were shocked by their daughter's maturity when they received these letters. And perhaps for the first time, they realized that their problem wasn't just about themselves. In mid-2024, with Sunday Rose's efforts, the family is trying to come together again. They're not like the old days yet, but at least they can talk, and Sunday Rose is no longer taking sides. She supports both her mother and father in matters where they're right. and warns them when they're wrong. The most important lesson to be drawn from this story is this: no matter how strong family bonds are, lack of communication can destroy everything. But with the right approach, even the most difficult situations can be overcome. Sunday Rose's story shows that ordinary family dramas occur even in Hollywood's glittering world. And sometimes, the youngest family member carries the greatest responsibility. I hope this story helps you review your relationship with your family, because family is the most valuable thing we have in life, and protecting it is all of our responsibility. At the end of the video, we must appreciate the courage and maturity Sunday Rose showed. It's not easy for a 16-year-old girl to carry such a burden, but she endured these difficulties because she loved her family. So do you think Sunday Rose did the right thing? Or was it wrong for her to take on such big responsibilities at this age? Don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments. And if you enjoy these kinds of dramatic family stories, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, because we research and present Hollywood's most surprising stories for you. Until we meet in the next video, take care of yourselves.